this is going to be talking about the recent push to lower the age of an adult to 14. Now, some people are saying that this is not actually a law that they're trying to push, but I believe that there's some validity to it, and I think that the fact that they're putting it under the guise of these troubled youth doing things at a young age, and it's running rampant even though crime is down. All of the metrics are down. So I'm not sure what teenagers they're talking about. And what's kind of started the whole thing was a Doge employee being beat up. Now, at first it was like some like rebellious like gangster youth beating him up, but I've heard a tale allegedly that he was propositioning. He propositioned some teenage girls, and that they beat him up. So, if they can put that stuff out there, we can put that stuff out there, because that's kind of what I heard. And if that is the truth, that's very interesting. So, people are not dumb. So they're like, okay, with these files. Now, the whole Epstein thing is front and center, because that is the line that a lot of MAGA people will draw. People losing health care, trans rights, jobs, farmers, tariffs, all of these things going by the way, cutting out cancer funding, taking care of people medically by building a big old gold ballroom. Don't have enough money for this, but I have enough money for this. And so there's all these other things that are underlying that are happening right now, but the line that MAGA is drawing is the Epstein files. So think about this. Why they pick 14? Why did they pick 14? Does that make you think that maybe, just maybe, the age of the young ladies was 14? Children. Let's react to these, shall we? Here we go.
Delegalize gay marriage. So you're telling me is two consenting adults can't get married if they love each other. I can't marry my nigga after 5 years, but y'all can change the age of consent to 14? Y'all okay with PDF files out here fucking 14-year-olds? But I can't get married? My 30-year-old ass can't get married to my 30-year-old man? Do y'all understand? Sometimes I be wondering.
You know that's on the chopping block. They're reevaluating that. They are so... Supreme Court of the United States is off the rails. Off the rails. And it makes me mad to no end that they're supposed to be the highest court, holding accountability to everyone. They're supposed to be a rule of law that enabled them to be where they are, to hold this office where you got to die to leave or retire. But most of them want to die because they don't want to go. They want to stay in power. It's getting dark. Let me see if I turn my flashlight on. My flashlight, it might die, but let's see. Whoa, that's bright. But we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Where they want to say that they want to say that, or they don't want to say, they are doing, where they're like making it where there's no rule of law and that the president can do whatever they want or whatever he wants. And what he wants is to not go to jail. What he wants is to not be impeached. What he wants not to be removed from office. And what he wants to do is lie. And in the end, he has no sense of accountability. So if he has to make it where people can marry with no consequence, a 14-year-old, then so be it.
Say stuff and I be wanting to like get it out, but sometimes some of the shit that goes on in America is just so ghetto that I just don't have the words. Like I don't have the words of what to say. The age of consent being 14, y'all just was saying how kids can't make decisions on their body if they want to be trans and all that stuff, but y'all are going to say they can make the consent to have sex. Y'all don't make sense. It does not make sense. Tell me how that makes sense.
It's just,
it's like y'all come up with things in your own mind and it's like, yeah, that's cool. No, it's not. It's never gonna be cool. Weirdos. Weirdos in red hats. Weirdos. Wow.
The first time I was made to feel unsafe by an older man, I was 3 years old. And I remember very clearly, even as a 3-year-old, what that was like. And this administration, this regime, is currently trying to lower the age of consent from 18 to 14 nationally. Now, they are also trying to change the age to 14 where somebody can be prosecuted as an adult. So at the same time that they're trying to make it much easier to victimize and exploit children, they are also trying to make it easier to funnel them into our for-profit prison system, which is the same reason that they've criminalized homelessness, the same reason they've done any number of things. This is all about creating cruel.
Now that's breaking my heart to see people in wheelchair. Somebody had a bag or something over his head. There's enough houses to house the unhoused. There's enough places to get them to have a roof over their head, but they don't want to do it because that's not where the money is. So why are the rich and powerful that want to do good not standing up and saying that's enough is enough?
Food's here.
Okay.
Do you want me to plug in the lights?
I will. So hey, I'd have dinner. So I'm not going to start from the beginning. I'm just going to continue on because you know what? It's not all that serious, and this is a work in progress. So let's go ahead and watch the rest of this young lady's video. It sounds like it's like a very she's got a story to tell, and it seems like she's had some, like she's starting off, but I have a feeling that it's gonna be pretty like interesting and like sad and maddening. But let's see if I'm right. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish watching.
And profit and bringing back slavery. But the fact that they're trying to change the age of consent to 14 has had me thinking a whole lot about all of the times as a child and as a teenager that I felt tremendously unsafe in the presence of older men. When I was 3 years old, I went to go play at a friend's house down the street, and her older brother pulled us into the treehouse in the backyard, started showing us a bunch of corn, and it went further from there in ways that I'm not comfortable talking about on this app. When I was 9, 10 years old maybe, I was in a karate class that I loved. I loved going to this karate class. I thought it was super fun. I was really good at it. And one day after class, I was waiting out front for my parents to come pick me up with another friend of mine. And the teacher, who I had really respected up to that point, came up to us to tell us that he had noticed that we were beginning to develop and that we were becoming young women, and that he was really, paying attention to that. And when I told my parents, they instead pulled me out of class rather than holding him accountable. I could tell you any number of other circumstances in between, but I almost didn't graduate high school. I hated school. I was real bad at it. And so I didn't go to PE class. very often. It was the class I would ditch the most. And so as a senior, I had to still be in PE class. And the teacher, the PE teacher, was a man named Dennis O'Leary. Dennis O'Leary, if you're out there, fuck you. He had once been the dean of the school. I found out later on that he had done tremendously inappropriate things and said just repeatedly inappropriate things to younger female students. And so rather than firing this guy and holding him accountable, the school had demoted him to a PE teacher. And so one day I walked into school and he overheard me talking with a girlfriend of mine about a boy that I was dating at the time. And he pulled us aside and said, "Girls, I want you to know that, a good man is hard to find, but a hard man is a good find." And then not long after that, I developed pretty early. And I had walked into class and I guess, it must have been cold. And I was showing it, and he called me out in front of the entire class for the fact that I had erect nipples. I don't know if TikTok's going to take me down for saying that. But rather than, I went into fawn response right away. I said nothing. But my friend was so taken aback by his behavior that she brought it to the administration of the school. They brought me in, took my story, and rather than firing this guy once, I'm shaking right now just telling you this. So rather than firing this guy once again, they protected his behavior. And they told me I could basically graduate with no effort. They put me in homeschool. I got to drop out of all of my other classes and take them at home. And it was basically like the easiest thing I'd ever done. They let me continue to go to school to take my music and theater classes, which was the only thing that I cared about at the time. And as far as I know, he continued to work for Amador Valley High School in Pleasanton, California for the rest of his goddamn career. So I want you to know that as they are trying to lower the age of consent, this is not just for a certain segment of the population. This is not just for the sickos in our government who are fighting against releasing the EP files in order to protect themselves. This is a pervasive and constant society. This is something that little girls experience from a very early age all the way up through the rest of their lives. And this is nothing to say about the times that I was actually physically assaulted or coerced or, where any of those instances, countless instances, including at the hands of my ex-husband, where my power over my own body was ripped away from me. So as they continue to try to do this, I want you to understand that this is something that every woman that you know has experienced in one way or another. Please know that. And the good men out there who have failed to stand up for the women in their lives, you're not a good man. You're not. I don't care if you've never assaulted somebody. I don't care if you think you've never made somebody feel unsafe. The fact that you have failed to stand up for people in situations where they feel unsafe, you are not a good man. You are not. There are good men out there, but they are few and far between. They are the exception to the rule because our society protects predators. I'll say it again. Our society protects predators.
One thing that I wanted to say, and I may share this down the road some, and because I remember when I was like either 14 or 15, and I went to the lake it was like a church getaway, and I went to the lake and was swimming, and I developed later than like my cousins and stuff, and I was swimming, and like the pastor was out there in the water also, and he grabbed onto me, and the way he grabbed onto me was, I remember to this day, was not appropriate. And typically how I feel shows on my face. And when I reacted to being touched inappropriately, he looked at me and I looked at him, and I was just like, it fundamentally shifted something. And I tell you, it's not only the men that don't protect the young women, but it can be the women. And the fact that it can be brought to someone's attention, nothing be done, is not okay. So I can only imagine, like, I remember the terror and the discomfort that I felt, and it forever shifted. I was not comfortable in that environment anymore. And that might be part of the reason why I, like, push back a little bit as far as being in a Baptist at that church. It changed my outlook and my feeling of comfort. And so I can only imagine young girls that are that age, if that does happen, what it opens them up to. And the fact that if this ends up being something that they're truly trying to do and it comes to fruition, I am really, really worried. I'm really, really worried about these young women. I really am.
What the fuck do you mean I could be walking down the street with my teenage daughter and not grown-ass men can just openly shoot they shot at a child? What the fuck do you mean that we about to start hearing a lot of grown-ass men say, I mean, shit is legal now. This one for the fathers right here. What the fuck do you mean that if this shit become legal, you about to start seeing a bunch of your friends looking your teenage daughter up and down. Click! Throw.
That already happens. I don't know how many times I had to be like grown men looking at my daughter when we were out. And she's like 13, 14, 15. The look on my face made them back the fuck up. Because I was like, what are you looking at? I'm talking, they were like 50, 60, looking at my daughter. Even the 40-year-olds, 30-year-olds. I'm just like, no. You need to back up. I'm a mama bear. And there's a lot of mama bears, papa bears, that won't be having it. They may want to do it, but they won't be having it.
What the fuck do you mean that shit is coming from the President of the United States? I need to go dig up Lee Harvey Oswald behind the head. Click, bow! What the fuck do you mean that MAGA is gonna support this shit? Because you know they will. What the fuck do you mean that when we tell...
I'm putting a little bit of everything in here. I know it's profanity. I know he's like mirroring like gunshot sounds, but there are people that this is going to resonate with, and people need to get mad about this. And some people are going to talk about it rationally. Some people are going to have a raised voice. Some people are going to exhibit profanity, and some people are going to be like, I'm coming at you. It's just the reality.
So MAGA, you're not supposed to be looking at teenage girls, which a lot of them already fucking do. They're going to be like, well, my president said it's okay. Boom, 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 boom. What the fuck do you mean that we finna have to go through 4 years of this bullshit unless we stand the fuck up and have a revolution and start click booming people for real? What the fuck do you mean? You've been waiting for this day because your daughter got some friends that you already been looking at, weirdo. And then stay with me. Now we ain't finna do shit about it, but post. Y'all let me know when the revolution starts. I swear to God, I'll stand front line with you.
Missouri, Wyoming, West
He ain't the only one that's ready.
Virginia, and New Hampshire all have laws in place now that a 14-year-old can consent to a relationship and sexy time with a grown adult, meaning that you wouldn't be tried as an adult if a 14-year-old child gave their consent. And now they're trying to reword it so every state has that ability. You know what's funny? You know what's real funny is that 14 is the age that several of these Republicans are being very openly tried for sexual assault. But now they want to change it so that a 14-year-old child can consent.
Make sure I got this. So a man who's refusing to release a very specific list, one that we all know he's on, that has many crimes on it, including many against children, now wants to recategorize actual children, 14-year-old kids, as adults? And you want us to believe it has to do with some crime wave with teenagers in DC, which is complete bullshit because the crime rates in DC have been going down now for years? I guess it's not a crime against children if those children are now considered legally adults, is it? And this is backed up by multiple states across this country who are reducing ages of consent and age of marriage. Yeah, this has nothing to do with crime. This has everything to do with protecting predators. And categorizing children, literal children. If you've ever been around a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, hell, 21-year-olds are children, but 14-year-olds, are you fucking kidding me? They are kids. This is one of the most insidious and disgusting things I've ever heard. 14-year-olds are children, release the fucking list, and hey, let me know when we're great again. I just want to make sure.
Do you think that 14-year-olds should be considered adults? Because that's what Donald Trump and the Republicans have done today and are working towards making federal and state law in the coming months. Earlier today, Trump and his goons held a press conference where they talked about the rampant teenage crime levels and the fact that there are apparently roving bands of teenagers out there wreaking havoc on the entire nation. So now Trump and state-level Republicans are proposing legislation that would make 14-year-old people and older held accountable as adult offenders, but it does not quite stop there. They are also proposing that anyone 14 years old and older is considered an adult for purposes of marriage and for purposes of how they would treat sex crimes. Wyoming, West Virginia, Missouri, and New Hampshire all recently rewrote laws that allow children to get married, claiming that child marriage prevents abortion. And the real kicker is, if you can get married at 14 years old, any sort of age difference between you and your spouse that would have been considered a sex crime is no longer considered a sex crime. The Utah Republican State Senate President, J. Stewart Adams, just used his power because his 18-year-old relative was accused of raping a 13-year-old. So he changed the law in Utah to say that if an 18-year-old rapes a minor, as long as that 18-year-old is still enrolled in high school, they're treated as a child offender and not as an adult offender.
These states have some issues. I know Utah with the whole, what is it, polygamy? Not polyamorous. Whatever it is to have 7 wives. Well, you know, it's already a problem. And a lot of them were probably young. Where they can be groomed to be the ideal wife, to just birth children, take care of the man. I actually saw a show the other day. I didn't watch it for too long, but it might have been a preview of one. And the guy, much older, he had to be like 55, maybe 60, with wives. They're like, some of them were like 7, they've been married to him where they had like 3 kids already, and they're like 18. Most of them were meek. One of them had a raised voice. She seemed like she's probably the oldest one, and the rest of them were meek. And they're like, yeah, I have 1 child, I have 3, so he's like, and they're like, how much do you make for work? You know, what's your wage? And he's like, I don't feel comfortable saying that. I don't feel comfortable. And then she asked the wives, so do you get welfare? Yep. So how much? $400 a week. 400 a month. I think 400 a month. 7 wives. $2,800 a month. He doesn't work. They probably live off the land. They bake everything. So their cost of living is like probably low. They probably get something else too. Not just the welfare. But women that look like me are supposed to be milking the system. We're milking the system and taking advantage and sitting around eating bonbons and just knocking out kids so we could get money. Yeah. It was already messed up there, so I'm not surprised that's the one she mentioned. Because it'll be where the age is 14. Then it'll be like, if you want to have more than one wife, mistresses, harem, whatever. This is where I want to throw something. This is where I want to go up to someone's and stand in their face, stand up in front of them, maybe not necessarily in their face, but stand in front of an elected official that is supporting this and saying to their face, what the literal hell is wrong with you? Do you have a daughter? You're okay with marrying off your 14-year-old. You're okay with that. You're okay with her marrying somebody that's 30 years older than her, that's going to brutalize her, that's going to, dampen her spirit. The possibility of higher education, blazing her own trail, being self-sufficient, traveling, doing all this stuff, out the window. Are you okay with your daughter like that? But Mike Johnson, he had his purity ball with his daughter. That creeped me the F out. And at the end, they're like, oh, well, my father knows best. He knows who I should marry. He's going to pick for me. Oh, my God. I can talk about so much. Okay, let's keep going.
Which made that crime of his 18-year-old relative raping a 13-year-old a misdemeanor, like a slap on the wrist, as opposed to a felony. Make no mistake, this narrative that the Trump administration is spinning, that there are rampant bands of teenage criminals terrorizing the nation, is nothing more than cover for the fact that they're trying to make the age of consent for marriage 14 years old. The whole thing is wrapped in trying to make 14-year-olds 18-year-olds. Also in today's press conference, yes, Donald Trump did invoke something called Section 740 of the D.C. Home Rule Act, which allows him to take control of the D.C. Metro Police, and he has done that. So what they're doing now is deploying federal officers, as well as the National Guard. He also claimed he'll send to the military if he needs to sweep Washington, D.C., removing homeless people and other criminals. He was really vague about that. They will use the National Parks Police to clear any of the green areas that are in Washington, D.C. that you may have seen homeless encampments in the past. When asked, where are you going to send these people to? He said, well, nobody knows where these people came from. A lot of these homeless people, nobody knows where they came from, so they could be deported. Trump directed these police officers to go really hard on folks, saying, you have to knock the hell out of them because that's the only way they learn. They can do whatever they want. They can hit people, especially if they spit at them. So we'll keep following the federalization of Washington, D.C. and what's going on there. But do not let this story about them trying to make 14-year-olds adults so they can marry them or incarcerate them slip by you.
Oh, that motherfucker slick. Changing the consenting age to 14? Because when the files come out and those kids are deemed to be 14 and 15 years old, that was going on back in the day, you can't be charged.
Yeah, because it's retroactive, right? Just like your insurance. So this happens today. We're just going to roll back that. We're going to roll that back 2 decades. So it's like it happened yesterday. What the?
Consenting age is changed. You won't be charged. You slick motherfucker. Woo! Y'all working with a monster. Y'all better stop them.
It changes laws to allow for teenagers 14 and older to be prosecuted as adults and face lengthy prison sentences. I'm not seeing a lot of articles saying that that's something that's actually happening, but that's what he has said. And even that is dangerous because even when Trump says something or Truth Socials something, there becomes a domino effect and then eventually something like that will happen, right? Now, in the article, it's really saying that it's because of the crime and all the crime, so they want to punish them as adults. But that for me is not an excuse. 14-year-olds, yes, they don't need to be doing crimes. They don't need to be acting out. Fine, but they're 14. They're still kids. 14, you're
Testing boundaries. Testing boundaries. Not that, just don't get too crazy. But they don't test boundaries because they're coming into themselves, right? They're coming into themselves, but they are no way close. There's not one iota of a brain that's like ready to tackle all the stuff that it takes to tackle adulthood. It's just not there. It's just not there.
in 7th, 8th, or 9th grade, right? So you're still making dumbass decisions. Do they need discipline? Yes. Absolutely. To be tried as an adult when they're not? No. And I feel like that's also like a hidden double, right? Like, we're gonna say this is what it is, but really it's so that we can legally have fun with 14-year-old girls. It's so that when we can pass this law, so when the Epstein files do get released, we don't get any type of prosecution because it's legal. You see what I'm saying? Whoever agrees with changing the age from 18 to 14, I feel you are disgusting. Because you have nasty intentions. I don't care, because what other reason why else would you want a girl to be legal at 14? You are hateful and you want to off black children. That's my stance. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I was gonna sugarcoat it, but no, I'm not. That's what it is, because there's no reason why a 14-year-old should be tried as an adult. You want these minority black kids to do something, so even if it's something little, so that way you could send them away for the rest of their life. So you can send them on them farms that you can't get your immigrants back for. You do all that other stuff that you wanted to do. No, we're not falling for it. It's disgusting. And I'm still gonna scream, where is the Epstein files? Stop the distractions. I don't care about nothing else. Where's the Epstein files? It's the only thing that we as a community, everybody, short, tall, fat, skinny, white, black, we all agree that that was nasty. And if the people is in them files, everybody in them files need to be prosecuted as an adult. So where are the Epstein files?
Okay, hold on. So y'all are going to...
Okay, so that ran the gamut of people that are opposing this, and I'm curious what you think about it. If you think it's something that they're actually trying to do, if you think that that age is like they are seriously on something, if they think that it's okay, are you willing to like stand up and say that's not okay? Do you have children? Do you have nieces, nephews, cousins? Really, seriously, where is the line in the sand? Where is the enough is enough? If this is something they're really going to do, people need to it needs to be some mass something. People are already protesting. People are already doing that. We need people with money and power to unite and tell him that we won't get you removed. We will go up against every single Republican shit that is supporting you. We are going to remove your support system. We are going to figure out a way to get these Supreme Court justices to retire. Well, not retire, because they can replace them. Buy them out so they start doing the right thing. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this, these are my first 3 videos. I'm so excited that I finally am putting something up on this channel. And I'm talking way longer than I should be. Way longer. But, can you please like, share, comment, subscribe? Come on, y'all. Come on. I'm going to put more videos up now that I know how to do it. And it's going to get prettier. It will. I promise. Okay. Peace.